Okay, let's see who is here. Hope some of you are able to make it in here tonight. Let's see who is here. If you're here in the house, just let me see you. Raise up your hand or give a clap. We're going to start in just 1 minute. Okay, thank you very much. I can see you're there. That's nice. That's very nice. Very good. I'm glad. I can see your hands. I can see your claps. Thank you very much. I have been very excited over the week to see how many people went back to watch the videos we have and to like our pictures and to visit generally. So that's very good. It gives us hope. It gives us excitement. All right, I see more people coming into the house, and that's very good. The last person, I'm excited about the last person who just joined. I welcome you this night to the second edition of Evening with Fada Paul on Couples Sport. Tonight we're going to be talking about sex and mental disposition in marriage. It's important for us to keep in mind that this program is meant to become a mirror for couples so that they can run their relationships on the mirror to see how well they are doing, and if they're not doing so well, that they can make some efforts to start afresh. Tonight, I'm going to be asking the questions that are difficult to ask. I'm going to be looking at your faces, and I'm going to be asking you why you don't even understand what's going on with your spouse. What I'm going to be doing tonight is to do in 3 stages a discussion on the mental disposition of your spouse in your marriage. The first thing I'm going to do is to talk about a couple of things that can affect and make your spouse not very disposed to having sex with you. The second thing I'm going to be doing is to highlight why that happens. And the third thing I'm going to be doing is to give you some quick suggestions and recommendations that can help us from tonight. It's important to know that there are quite a number of things that act as stressors, things that make sex in marriage very difficult. The first thing I want to say to you is it is not because there is no more love. It's just that there are issues, there are things that are happening. So it's important for us to go through this. So the first thing I want to do is to highlight. And I want to do this because there are a number of us who do not even know that these things exist. And when you do not know that these things exist, then it is going to be it's important for, I'm reading some things that people are texting. The first thing you should know is that when you are abusive towards your spouse, and it can be verbal abuse, it can be physical abuse, when you're abusive towards your spouse, it becomes very difficult. He or she shuts down. You can imagine calling somebody an idiot, calling somebody a fool, and you want to get into bed and have sex with that person. So know it now. And I'm saying this so that you can put this and begin to think about your relationship. Do I abuse my spouse? Do I also expect to have sex that is good with the person I'm abusing? And so it's important. Once you are in an abusive relationship, verbally, you call all kinds of names, even when your children are there or when your friends are there, it becomes very, very difficult for you to be able to go beyond that. If sex happens in an abusive relationship, it is not because it is wanted. It is not because it is enjoyed. Maybe it's because the person that is being abused is also afraid. That's why sex happens in an abusive relationship. And it doesn't really have to be physical abuse. Even verbal abuse shuts down the mind of your partner. And so it becomes very difficult. This person that has just abused me is the same person that wants to have sex with me. It's good for you to know that if you are in such, or if you are the one that is doing that to your spouse. The second thing is attitude towards the spouse himself or herself. What is your attitude? And you must learn to ask that. What is your attitude towards your spouse? What is your attitude towards the family itself? I have heard many people say he doesn't think about the family, he thinks more about people outside. And I also have heard people say she is better when she is outside than when she is. So the attitude of your spouse would also determine the kind of mental block or disposition that he or she has towards sex. If you are not interested in your spouse, it will affect your sexual life. Your spouse told you in the morning that he or she is not well, and you just walked out like that. And then by the time you're back in the evening, you think that would have changed. No. It's important for you to realize that your attitude towards your spouse counts a lot when it comes to getting in bed. And so you must be positive in your attitude towards your partner. It's only then that you can have what is called good sex. Now, another thing that people overlook is the extended family. Know that that family was there before you got into his or her life. And so if the father is not well, if the mother has a need, that plays a role. So never you play it down. So when you're asking your partner to come and have sex, and the person had already discussed what's going on in his or her family, and you ignored it, that's going to play some role in your sex life, because his mind or her mind is just not with you. And it's good for you to know that when such attitudes exhibit themselves, it's not because your spouse does not love you. It is just because there's so much going on in the mind. There's so much happening in your spouse's mind that he or she wants to resolve that. For example, your spouse's parent is not well, or they just said your spouse's parent just had an issue and would need his or her attention, and you do not think he or she will be thinking about that. You think sex will be the first thing on his or her mind? Absolutely not. It's important to know that this is very, very strong on anybody's mind. And so don't you ever play it down. That after all, he is married now. After all, she is married now. She should know, yes, he or she is married, but that first family plays a significant role in the relationship. Now, I'm going to list a couple of fears that people have. And it's important for us to pay attention to these fears. One of the first fears is fear about the career. I mean, if somebody is beginning and the career is so important, if somebody's career is so important, the person unconsciously has that career occupying a lot of his or her mind, especially when the demands are high. And so it's important for you to know that. Someone just gets a job and they wants to keep the job and he wants to be the best in his or her job. Know that that's going to play some role in your sex life. Know that. Of course, today we now have exams, professional exams, academic exams, and for spouses that are involved in all of this, it's also important for you to know that these are going to be playing some roles in your sex life. If your spouse is preparing for exam, and that is the time you want to have the best of sex with him or her, you can be sure that the mind is not there. And so these are the moments that you see people turn their backs, you see the people say, you see the people, because the mind is occupied. The mind wants to get the exam over with. And so it's important to recognize that and to also pay attention. Another fear that exists and that can block a relationship in marriage is the office experience. Don't be surprised that many spouses don't even know what the other person is going through in the office. For example, if you have an abusive boss, your spouse goes through that all day, and then he comes back at night, he's battered or she is battered. The character is battered, is bruised. And you think that's not going to be what is on his or her mind? Of course, that's what's going to be on his or her mind. And so if the person comes back and all you're thinking about is sex, it's not going to happen. If it happens, it's going to be happening because the person doesn't have a choice, or the person just wants to do it because it looks like you don't know how to ask for any other thing. And so it's important to recognize that your spouse's office experience is very, very important. When this topic came out, someone pointed out that traffic in Lagos is a big stress. I want to say yes to that, but I also want to put a caveat. I want to slow down on it, because you cannot always say traffic is the reason why you're not disposed for sex. Traffic would always be there, and so we must find a reason around it. Having said that, traffic is also a reason why your partner may not be available for good sex. Where I'm not talking about regular sex. I'm not talking about just getting to bed and have sex. I'm talking about sex that is enjoyed by the two of you. Now, I'm going to talk about this one fear that is very important. And I'm talking about it because I want you to pay attention. Fear of getting pregnant. I mean, over the course of the years, I've seen people become afraid even having sex with their partner because they don't want to get pregnant. Some got pregnant, unfortunately. They took out the baby. And so that plays in their mind anytime they are at that time that they are fertile. And if your spouse wants to have sex with you at that time, I tell you, your mind will not be settled. I know people settle for things like condoms and all of that. Even those fail. And that is why it's always recommended that abstinence is the best thing, not even withdrawal, as some have said. You know, it's important for you to know that when your spouse tells you that I am not safe, pay attention to that, because that will never let you have the best of sex. Another thing that affects the mind is finance. You know, when you're thinking of how to pay your house rent, you're thinking of how to pay your children's school fees, you're thinking of how to, and all this man is asking for sex, or all this woman is asking for sex, it's not going to happen. Again, if it happens, it's not going to be the best of it. I also want to point out the fact that health concerns play some strong roles in the way we engage in sex. Some couples, some spouses have some diseases that even their better half does not know about. And so when you're asking to have sex, the person is in his or her mind going through what he or she is imagining. I have STD. I don't want this man to get it. I don't want this woman to get it. And you're pulling him to have some sex. He's going through a lot in his mind. And so it's important to know all of this. The final and the biggest one is trust. You know, you don't wish away trust. Trust has with it unforgiveness and all kinds of things. And so if your spouse is suspicious of you, for every time you want to get into bed with her or with him, he's thinking, who is the other person out there? What is happening to this man or this woman? Where is it coming from? And so all of those things are going on in your spouse's mind when you just want to have sex. And so it's important to keep all of these things in mind. These are things that affect our mental reaction, our disposition to marriage, to sex and marriage. Now, why? Why does this happen? Very importantly, note that the person you want to have sex with is not just a physical body. Okay? The person you want to have sex with has got feelings. And that is where the mental disposition comes in. The mental disposition makes the person want to be a part of the process. The mental disposition makes the person want to engage and enjoy it. So there is the visible part and there is the invisible part. That's why you have all those blockades when it comes to sex. The visible part can be influenced by the invisible part. The invisible part is the will. I want to have sex with you. And so if your spouse in her or his mind says, I do not want to, I don't wish to, then it's difficult. Then there is also the other part, the soul. You know, sex is, it embodies you. And you must know that. You must know that. That for you to have good sex in your marriage, you must, the physical part is there. I mean, there's nothing you can do without the physical part. The physical part is there. And then you must also have the will of your partner. Then you must also have the soul. And that is why procreation happens through sex, you know. So that is why when you see your spouse saying no, it's because the will is not there. It's because the soul is not there. It's because there are some mental blocks that you need to resolve. So what must you do? First thing you must do, it's a general principle. You must find out what is wrong with your spouse. You must talk. It's a mutual disclosure. Do you know what your spouse goes through at work? Find out. Ask. Do you know what has been happening to your spouse's life in terms of career? Find out. You know, some people have so much distrust that they haven't even expressed them. Find out. That is the first thing you must do. You must learn to read your spouse's body language. She has not always been like this. Something must be wrong. He has not always been like this. Something must be wrong. And so the first thing you need to do is to read the body language and begin to ask. At that point, there must be an understanding of what is going on. The second thing you must learn that is very important is there's something called sex space. Give him a space. Give her a space for a time. It's important. Intercourse is not the end to everything. Your spouse requires you to be there. So when you have spoken, when your spouse now understands what you're going through, it is necessary, it's not by choice, that you must show empathy. Sorry, how are you? How did it go today? What can I do to help? These are very, very important when you're going to be getting into bed with somebody. Very, very important. You must know the mental state of your spouse. If you don't, you're never ever going to have good sex with your spouse. And so it's important. So I told you, one, you must mutually discuss. Why are you worried? It is not normal. People don't just wake up and want to be worried. And so you must ask, why are you worried? What can I do about what you're going through? How can I be of help? The second thing is, you cannot continue. I'm going to say it again. You cannot continue to abuse somebody and want to be in love or getting into bed with that person. No, it doesn't happen. You just called her idiot. You just called her a fool. And you want to be in bed? It does not happen. You have just physically abused somebody. Someone was telling me some time ago that my husband beat me up and the next thing he wants to do was to have sex. Who does that? No. There's a mental block when you have abused somebody. And so when those things you say to your spouse in the presence of your friends, sometimes in the presence of your children, sometimes in the presence of members of your family, those things must stop if you want to have good sex life. There are no questions about it. You cannot be abusing somebody and jump into the bed with the same person. No. Things like that are not going to happen. Okay? Another thing that is recommended for you is the attitude towards your spouse. Care for him now, care for her now. If there is need for food, prepare food. If she asks for money, if you don't have it, explain why you don't have it. You don't have to shout. Your attitude is important. Your attitude towards your children, your attitude towards the home, your attitude towards your family and future, very important. So it's important for you to begin to pay attention. So don't wander far why your sex life is not the best of what it should be. It's also important for you to begin to ask yourself, have you even asked your wife how the parents are doing, how the brothers are doing, the sisters are doing? Ask. If that's the least you can do, just ask. When you show some concern, I think you go a long way. Intercourse, sex is not always the end. Sometimes when you're not having the sex that you so desire, be there. Just empathize. Be there. It's important for you to know that. Okay? Now, during mental blocks, during this time when your spouse is going through all of this, note it. Although there will be some persons who are able to go through stress with sex. So if the aching partner is the one asking for sex, oblige. That's another way to handle it. If your partner goes through traffic and he says, well, I'm done with traffic, talk about it, okay? If your partner has just had some loss, is weeping, and he says, please, I just need sex tonight to get me better, please oblige. But you are not the one to now impose it on the partner that is mourning. It's important to think about that. You have to read the body language of your partner. Very, very important. It's important for you to learn to use the things around you and to be able to pay more attention. There is nothing wrong in giving your spouse some space. There's nothing wrong in giving your spouse some space. I also want to stress very, very importantly that the achy partner, the anxious partner, the mentally blocked partner must ensure that this situation is not dragged too long, okay? So if you're going through exam, don't stay off sex for a whole session now. Abba. Don't stay for a whole semester. You can stay off sex for that exam period. If you are if you're going through stress at work, make sure that is resolved. Because although you're aching, your partner also has a need for sex. And that is why it is important for the two of you to dialogue. That is why it's important for that situation not to drag too long. And that's why I was trying to point out with the situation of traffic in Lagos. Lagos, there would always be traffic. There's nothing you're going to do about it. And so you cannot say, oh, because there's traffic, I'm not. No. Work something out. It is important for the aching partner not to take advantage of the situation. Your partner sincerely needs you. Sex is part of marriage. And so do not just stretch it. It's important to talk about it. It's important to give space when there is need for space. It is important to also reconcile when there is need for reconciliation. When it comes to the issue of trust, please talk about it. For men who find it difficult to talk about their relationship, look for someone you can listen to. Talk about it. You must talk about it. Otherwise, you're going to be having the little instead of the best you can have in your marriage. I've heard several times when people tell me, my husband will not come, my husband will not talk. Talk to somebody. It is necessary. You are aching. You are not well. The same way somebody who is sick goes to the hospital, it's the same way you need to talk. It's not a bad thing. It's not a sign of weakness. In fact, it is a sign of wisdom that you want to get the best out of your relationship. And so it is important for us to look at all of these things and begin to ask ourselves, what now can I do? Tonight, I want you to think about your relationship and ask yourself, could I have been overlooking something about my husband? Is that why he has not been very available? Could I have been overlooking something about my wife? Is that why she's not available? And then pay attention to it and see how this can be resolved. I'm going to have you turn in your questions now and see what questions or clarifications you have. If you have contributions, then we can do that very well, very quickly. I'm glad you have been here. I'm glad you have been raising your hands and clapping. Thank you very much. It's always exciting to know that people are listening and people go back to watch. In the course of this week, I have seen people go back to watch videos, and that's very impressive. Like I said at the beginning, the essence of this is for us to be able to mirror our relationships and see how best we can continue, or if we need to make a turn, you've got to make a turn. You cannot be happy in your marriage if you do not resolve the basic things that are aching you in your marriage. And so that's very, very important for us. I've said all of these things tonight. I've told you the basic things that can cause mental block in marriage, so that if you want to have sex and your wife or your husband is saying, no, I cannot, there must be a reason. I've told you why, because it's not just what you see. Your wife, your husband has got a mind, he has got a soul, he's got a will. He has to be willing to engage in sex with you. And I also have offered some solutions, some things that you should do. So please tonight, go ahead, talk to your wife if you have not in a long while, talk to your husband if you have not in a long while, and then see how you can get the best out of your relationship. I also remember I mentioned that sex is not all the time, okay? There are times that you just show concern. There are times that you just be there for your spouse. There are times that all he wants to know is that you understand. All that she wants to know is that you are there for her. I think if we do more of this, we will be a whole lot better. If you want to get in touch with us, go back to our Twitter handles, go back to our YouTube handle, go back to our Instagram handle. It's the same handle across. Couples Sport NGN at Couples Sport NGN, and there will be there. I see someone trying to ask a question here, and it says, what happens when a problematic teenager is the source of stress for his or her parents? How do they ensure the children don't come between them? Please save the life of someone. You must be objective when it comes to children. This is my take when it comes to children. Don't spoil them. You know, when you say problematic teenager, it is not an infant. It is not a teenager has gone through life. I think what you can do is to find someone that can talk to that teenager, because these days, parenting, I know parenting these days is very difficult. It's difficult for parents to tell their children the truth. So if there's someone who's going to be able to objectively speak to that child, I think you can do that. I also don't think you should rule out the fact that you can pray about it. You know, St. Monica prayed a whole lot for St. Augustine, and there was conversion. Do not let your child come in between your husband or your wife. Do not let that, because those children are going to grow very quickly, and you're going to be left alone with your spouse. So what you must do is speak the truth. Let me just share this with you. I mean, we all grew up. I had a mother who, whenever I misbehaved, would come early in the morning and sit by my bed. And she did it with all my siblings. She'll sit by your bed at 4:30 a.m. and tell you the truth. Some parents must learn to tell their children the truth. I think that is the first thing. A general thing will be to know exactly what the issue is with this teenager. To speak generally may be difficult, but if you know exactly what the problem is with a teenager, then you'll be able to respond to that. So 2 things: speak the truth to the teenager. Be frank with the teenager. Make out time one-on-one as a parent with the teenager. If you cannot do that, find someone that can speak to the teenager, and also pray. I mean, prayer is very, very important. I'm going to be leaving you with this now. Go back. All our social media handles are the same, Couple Sport NGN. And then you can always reach out on our phone number 08115396 It would be nice to hear from you. If you have stories you want to tell, you want to share with us, let us know. You can also send us email. Again, couplesportngn@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being here this evening. It's been my pleasure sharing this few moments with you. I'll see you same time next week, 9 p.m. on Sunday. God bless you.